Recent events in Europe involving the stabbings of soldiers on the streets of London and Paris have once again sparked up a debate about Europe, Islamization, and the threat of homegrown extremism fueling future attacks. One diplomacy analyst JN1 spoke to, though, argues that Europe's battle against radicalization has been too inward-looking and that it should instead combat extremist leaders extending their influence from overseas on Muslim communities in Europe.
Well, the debate is about radicalization, in fact, and about terrorism. And people put it together with the Islam. Why? Because it comes out of the Islamic corner. In order to understand the duality and the non-comprehension of Europeans towards the Islam, you have to transport the situation in Europe to another country. Let's take, for example, Bahrain. Everybody speaks about what happens in Bahrain, human rights and so on. But Bahrain is one of these countries who put Hezbollah on the terror list. If you take the example of what happened in Boston, two Chechen boys, radicalized, makes a terrorist attack and killed 3 people. In Russia, terrorists from Chechnya kill hundreds of people in attacks. Europe considers this the fight for the liberty and the fight against oppression. But if the same people do this attack in Europe, it's a huge affair of the United States on terrorism. And still nobody wants to see the relationship. When in Bahrain the Iranians try they're paying big amounts of money for terrorists and trying to overthrow the government, it's out of political. It has nothing to do with the Islam. It has nothing to do with that Bahrain is non-Islamic country, or like in England, the Christians are attacked or Jewish people are attacked. It has to do with political Islam, with integrism. So Bahrain reacts against this and everybody attacks them. But in fact, they're fighting against a foreign power trying to get grip on their country. If you now take this back to Europe, in Europe, the political parties are trying to gain votes out of what they consider Muslim public. This Muslim public is in itself attacked and radicalized by paid imams out of Saudi Arabia and other countries who construct islands of integrism in the middle of European city. This is a world situation. It is not a radicalization which Europe has to take apart the dangers here in front of us and the dangers who are in the Arab world, like in Bahrain and so on. You have to work with all these countries together. And you have also to see the difference, which Europeans don't understand in the Islam, the difference between religion and political Islam. That's a big difference. In certain countries, you can have all the different kind of religions living well together. And like I told, Bahrain is one of those examples. From the other side, you can have political Islam who wants to use it in order to gain power on a certain country, just to grip power. It happens in Syria, there is dangers in Libya, there's dangers in Tunisia, there's dangers everywhere. The only way to counter-attack this is to ask from all the mosques to be more open about the finances, to be more open about what they're saying, and to condemn every kind of hate. Why Imam who says it's good to kill British people is not arrested? Because he is the one who gives justification to these young people who is cutting soldiers or cutting people in the middle of the street, who attacks a person in the middle of Paris metro, who attacks people here. He has to be attacked and brought to court. But the politicians, at least, are trying to get personal gains, votes out of a population which themselves don't want to be part of this integrist Islam. And also the politicians have very carefully to consider the politics towards Arab countries who don't want to accept that there are revolutions. Of course, you have to work on democracy and try to discuss with them and try to make changes, but democracy is no reason to accept terrorism, to accept foreign attacks, to accept manifestations which are paid by foreign countries. This is not possible. As long as Europe will have this duality of there it's good and here it shouldn't be, they will import this war, the war of a small group of Islamic political Salafists, they will import it to Europe.
With Europe in a constant flux of political elections, Alexander Zanzer argues too that policymakers often intentionally collide the fight for freedom and democracy against fighting extremism and terrorism. But he warns that if Europe wants to eradicate the threat of radicalization on the continent, that it can and should address both. Sandra Gottman for JN1 in Brussels.